My wife told me her dance lessons ended at 7. It was 7:15 when I pulled into the parking lot of the studio. Her car was still there, along with just one other vehicle, a flashy red Mustang that screamed midlife crisis. I decided to surprise her. Maybe take her out for dinner, show some spontaneous romance. 8 years of boxing had taught me timing was everything, but it had also taught me to trust my instincts. Something felt off about these private lessons that had been going on for 3 months. The studio had floor-to-ceiling windows facing the parking lot. I could see everything, and what I saw made my blood turn to ice. She wasn't learning any dance moves. She was pressed against him, his hands roaming places they had no business being. Her arms were wrapped around his neck, and she was laughing at whatever garbage he was whispering in her ear. This wasn't dancing. This was foreplay with music in the background. I watched for 2 full minutes. Long enough to know this wasn't a misunderstanding. Long enough to see her actively participate, encouraging every touch, every whisper. Long enough to know my marriage was a lie. The rage building in my chest wasn't the wild, explosive kind. It was cold, calculated. The same feeling I got in the ring when an opponent showed me an opening. I walked through the front door. The little bell chimed, but they were too busy to notice. I cleared my throat. They jumped apart like teenagers caught by their parents. "Honey," she gasped, her face flushing red. "What are you doing here?" The instructor, tall, lean, probably thought he was God's gift to women, looked at me with barely concealed annoyance. Then he did something that sealed his fate. He smiled. "You must be the husband," he said, looking me up and down like I was some obstacle to remove. "I'm Antonio. Your wife's been telling me so much about you." I bet she had. "Have you now?" I stepped closer. Antonio didn't back down, which I almost respected. Almost. "She mentioned you work long hours," he continued, his accent thick and probably fake. "Good thing she has somewhere to express herself artistically while you're busy." My wife shot him a look that screamed, "Shut up," but Antonio was on a roll. "Dancing requires passion, you understand? Fire. It needs someone who can move with purpose." He glanced at my wife with that same predatory smile. "She needs a real man who understands rhythm, not someone stiff and, how you say, mechanical." That was his first mistake, talking about my wife like she was his property. His second mistake was assuming I was mechanical. "You know what else requires timing and rhythm?" I asked, taking another step forward. "What's that?" he asked, still smug, still clueless. I showed him. 8 years of boxing. 8 years of learning how to throw a perfect cross. 8 years of understanding that the most devastating punches come from your legs, through your core, and explode through your fist. The sound his jaw made when my knuckles connected was like a branch snapping. Antonio dropped like he'd been unplugged. His head bounced off the hardwood floor with a thud that echoed through the studio. Blood immediately started pooling under his mouth. My wife screamed. I flexed my fingers, checking for damage. Nothing. Clean hit. "That's rhythm," I said, looking down at Antonio's unconscious form. And timing. My wife was hyperventilating, her hands shaking as she knelt beside her precious dance instructor. "You're insane," she shrieked. "You could have killed him." "Could have," I agreed. Didn't want to deal with the paperwork. She pulled out her phone, probably calling 911. "Good. Let them come. Let them see what happens when someone disrespects me in front of my face." "This is assault," she screamed. "You're going to prison for this." I looked at her, really looked at her. 3 years of marriage, and I was seeing her clearly for the first time. The way she immediately protected him instead of even pretending to care about our relationship. The way she was already building her victim narrative. "No," I said calmly. "This is consequences." Antonio was starting to stir, making groaning sounds. His jaw was definitely broken, maybe his nose too. He'd be drinking through a straw for months. "You're a monster," my wife whispered, tears streaming down her face. "I'm a man who doesn't tolerate disrespect," I corrected. "There's a difference." The sirens were getting closer. "Hope your dance lessons were worth it," I told her, heading toward the door. "Because they just cost you everything." I had calls to make, plans to set in motion. Antonio thought he knew about timing and rhythm. He was about to get a masterclass in both. The police arrived 15 minutes after I got home. I was sitting on my front porch, drinking a beer, waiting for them. 2 officers. One older, looked like he'd seen everything. The younger one seemed eager to prove himself. "Sir, we need to ask you some questions about an incident at Riverside Dance Studio," the older cop said. "Antonio Martinez, right?" I stood up slowly, hands visible. Broke his jaw. Self-defense. The younger cop's hand moved toward his weapon. The older one held up a hand. Self-defense, the veteran asked. Man was putting his hands on my wife without my permission. Made threatening comments about what she needed from a real man. I felt threatened. It wasn't entirely true, but it wasn't entirely false either. My phone buzzed. Text from my wife. Coming home. We need to talk. 20 minutes later, she walked through the door like she owned the place. Behind her was some woman I'd never seen before. Probably her sister or a friend for moral support. This is Lisa, my attorney, she announced. Attorney. She'd already lawyered up. This confirmed everything I needed to know about where her loyalties lay. Ma'am, we're still conducting our investigation, the older officer said. My client has every right to document the dangerous environment her husband has created, Lisa replied, pulling out her phone. My wife started recording immediately. Tell them what you did to an innocent man, she demanded, holding the phone toward me. Tell them how you attacked someone unprovoked. This was her plan. Get me to explode on camera, create evidence of my violent nature for the divorce proceedings. I smiled at the camera. I defended my marriage from a predator who was sexually assaulting my wife, I said calmly. Any husband would have done the same. He wasn't assaulting me, she snapped. We were dancing, with his hands on your body and his tongue in your ear. Her face went red. The attorney shot her a look that said, shut up. You're twisting everything. My wife tried again. You're dangerous. Unstable. Look what you did to an innocent person. Innocent. I laughed. Lady, your client was caught red-handed cheating with a married man. That stopped everyone cold. What? Lisa asked. Antonio Martinez. Married to Elena Martinez for 6 years. She's been out of town on business for the last month. Didn't you check that before taking this case? The attorney's face went pale. My wife's mouth opened and closed like a fish. That's not relevant. Lisa finally managed. Adultery's still grounds for fault divorce in this state, I pointed out, especially when there's video evidence. Video evidence, my wife whispered. I pulled out my phone, showed them the recording I'd made through the studio windows before walking in. 30 seconds of my loving wife grinding against her dance instructor like they were in a nightclub, I said, clear as day. The younger cop actually snorted, trying not to laugh. You're sick, my wife hissed. You recorded me without permission. I recorded my own wife in a public space committing adultery. Perfectly legal. Lisa was frantically whispering to my wife, probably telling her to shut her mouth. Even if that's true, my wife said, desperate now, it doesn't give you the right to assault someone. Actually, in this state, a spouse catching their partner in adultery can claim temporary insanity or extreme emotional disturbance, I replied. Reduces assault charges significantly. I'd spent the last hour researching law instead of feeling sorry for myself. The point is, I continued, Antonio learned an important lesson about keeping his hands to himself. And you learned one about loyalty. Where am I supposed to go? She demanded, the victim act cracking. Try the hospital, I suggested. I'm sure Antonio could use the company, though you might want to call first. See if visiting hours allow, whatever it is you two do together. The older cop cleared his throat. Sir, you'll need to come to the station tomorrow to give a formal statement. Of course, officer. After they left, my wife and her lawyer huddled on the driveway, planning their next move. Through the window, I watched them argue. Lisa kept shaking her head, probably explaining how weak their position was. My wife kept pointing at the house, demanding her stuff. I texted my locksmith. New locks by morning. Then I made another call. More important than lawyers or police. Elena Martinez answered on the third ring. Hello, Mrs. Martinez? You don't know me, but I think we need to talk about your husband. Elena Martinez had a voice like broken glass, sharp, cutting through the phone with barely controlled fury. Who is this? She demanded. Someone whose wife has been having an affair with your husband, I said directly. I thought you should know before you waste any more time caring about him. Silence. Then, prove it. I liked her already. I just sent Antonio to the hospital with a broken jaw after I caught them together at his dance studio. My wife is probably heading there right now to play nursemaid. You hit him. There was something almost like approval in her voice. Lady, if you saw what I saw, you'd have done worse. Another pause. I've been in Chicago for 3 weeks. Business trip. I was supposed to stay another week, but something felt wrong. I kept calling, and he kept making excuses about why he couldn't talk long. Trust your instincts, I said. They're usually right. What do you want from me? Nothing. I just thought you deserved to know the truth before you rushed home to comfort him. I wasn't planning to rush home, she said slowly. But now I think I will. Good. I have a feeling timing is going to be everything here. We talked for 20 more minutes. Elena was smart, sharp, and absolutely done with being lied to. She'd suspected something was off for months. Late nights, mysterious phone calls, sudden interest in expanding his dance repertoire. There's something else, she told me before hanging up. Antonio owes money. Gambling debts. That studio? It's hemorrhaging cash. I've been supporting him for 2 years. Perfect. A broke, cheating dance instructor with gambling problems. My wife really knew how to pick them. After Elena hung up, I opened my laptop and started researching. Antonio Martinez wasn't hard to find online. His social media was full of pictures with students, always young women, always touching, always that same predatory smile. I found his LinkedIn. Professional dance instructor and wellness coach. The wellness coach part was new. I dug deeper. 3 different women had left reviews on Google mentioning inappropriate behavior during private sessions. The studio had responded to each one claiming the reviews violated their policy and would be removed. I screenshotted everything before it could disappear. My phone buzzed. Text from my wife. The locks better be changed back by tomorrow or I'm calling the police again. I replied, call them. Explain why you need to get into a house you abandoned to cheat. She responded immediately, I never abandoned anything. You attacked an innocent man. Innocent men don't whisper about what your wife needs from a real man while grabbing her body. You're twisting everything. I'm recording everything. That shut her up. Around midnight, I drove past the hospital. Her car was in the parking lot. She'd been there for 4 hours. I took a picture of her license plate with the timestamp and location visible. At home, I printed bank statements, credit card bills, and phone records. 3 months of unusual activity. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel visits during her shopping trips. Phone calls to numbers I didn't recognize. Antonio's number appeared 47 times in the last month. I organized everything into a folder labeled evidence. If this went to court, I wanted to be prepared. My phone rang at 2 a.m. Elena, I changed my flight, she said. I land tomorrow at 3 p.m. I want to see this for myself. See what? If my husband is really injured, or if he's just playing victim while your wife plays caretaker. And if you find them together, then Antonio learns what real consequences look like. I've been carrying this man for years, believing his lies about building something together. If he's been cheating on me with some other man's wife while I work 60-hour weeks to pay his debts. She didn't finish the sentence, but I got the message. Elena, when you get to the hospital, you might want to bring your phone. Document whatever you find. Already planned on it. And maybe come quietly. Element of surprise works better than announcing yourself. You sound like you know what you're talking about. 8 years of boxing teaches you strategy. Sometimes the best punch is the one they never see coming. I like you already, she said. Your wife's an idiot for throwing away a man who actually fights for his marriage. After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen, planning. Elena would handle Antonio. But my wife, she needed to understand that her choices had consequences beyond just our marriage. I pulled up her social media. She'd already posted cryptic messages about surviving abuse and finding strength in dark times. Playing the victim for sympathy points. I screenshotted those too. Evidence of defamation, potentially. Tomorrow was going to be interesting. Elena would discover the truth about her husband. My wife would discover that playing victim only works if people believe you're actually innocent. And Antonio was about to learn that broken jaws heal, but broken trust destroys everything. I set my alarm for noon. I wanted to be awake when Elena landed. Some fights you win with your fists. Others you win by letting your opponents destroy themselves. Time to see which kind of fighter my wife really was. Elena's flight landed at 3:17 p.m. She texted me from the airport. On my way to the hospital. This better be worth the early flight home. It would be. I drove to a coffee shop across from the hospital and waited. At 4:30, Elena's black BMW pulled into the parking lot. She sat in her car for a full minute, probably gathering courage for what she was about to discover. My phone rang. I'm here, she said. Her car is still in the lot. Room 314. Orthopedic wing. I called earlier pretending to be family. How do you know that? I called the hospital this morning. Amazing what they'll tell you when you say you're his brother checking on his condition. Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're thorough. I'm motivated. Wish me luck. You won't need it. You've got truth on your side. 25 minutes later, my phone exploded with text messages. Elena, holy shit. Elena, you were right. Elena, sending photos now. The first photo showed my wife sitting on a small stool next to Antonio's hospital bed. She had a small basin of water and was gently washing his face with a washcloth. Her other hand was stroking his arm tenderly. The second photo was taken from a different angle. My wife was leaning over Antonio, whispering something in his ear while dabbing at his swollen jaw. The intimacy was unmistakable. The third photo captured the moment Elena walked into the room. My wife's face was pure terror. Antonio looked like he'd seen a ghost. And Elena looked like a woman who'd just had every suspicion confirmed. My phone rang immediately. I walked in and found her giving him a sponge bath like they were married. Elena said, her voice shaking with rage. She was sitting right next to him, washing his face, holding his hand. When she saw me, she tried to pretend she was just a concerned friend of the family. "What did you say?" I introduced myself as his wife and asked how long she'd been fucking my husband. I actually laughed out loud. And she went white as paper and started stuttering about how this was all a misunderstanding. Antonio tried to talk, but his jaws wired shut, so he just made these pathetic mumbling sounds. "Did you get it all on video?" "Every second." Your wife tried to explain that she was just helping a friend who got attacked by her crazy, violent husband. So I asked her why a married woman was giving intimate care to another married man instead of letting the nurses do their job. Smart question. She couldn't answer it, just kept repeating that I didn't understand the situation. So I told her I understood perfectly. She was a homewrecker who helped destroy my marriage, and now she was playing nursemaid to my cheating husband while I was working to pay his debts. Elena was on fire. This was better than I'd hoped. Then what happened? Antonio tried to reach for her hand, like he was going to comfort her instead of me. That's when I lost it. I waited. I didn't hit her, Elena clarified. I'm not stupid. But I got right in her face and told her exactly what I thought of women who prey on other people's marriages. I told her that her husband was a real man who defended what was his, while she was just a pathetic cheater who destroyed everything she touched. How did she react? Started crying, playing victim, said she was scared and confused and just trying to help someone who got hurt because of her. Classic manipulation tactics. And Antonio made some mumbling sound and tried to gesture for me to calm down, like he was protecting her from his mean wife. That's when I took more pictures of them together and told them both I was filing for divorce in the morning. Both. Your wife's going to be named in my divorce papers as the other woman, along with a lawsuit for alienation of affection. I didn't know Elena could file that kind of lawsuit, but it sounded devastating. There's more, she continued. After I left the room, I went to the nurse's station, asked how long the woman in 314 had been there and if she was family. What did they say? She's been there every day since he was admitted, bringing him food, personal items, staying past visiting hours. The nurses assumed she was his wife because of how she acted with him. Perfect. Documentary evidence of their relationship. Elena, you're brilliant. I'm furious, she corrected, but I'm also done being stupid. I called my lawyer from the parking lot. By tomorrow morning, Antonio's going to discover that the woman who's been supporting his dreams is about to take everything he thinks he owns. What about my wife? She's all yours, but she's going to have some explaining to do when my lawyer starts asking questions about how long this affair has been going on. After Elena hung up, I sat in the coffee shop, processing everything. My wife wasn't just cheating. She was playing house with another woman's husband while that woman worked to support them both. The manipulation attempt with the police hadn't worked. Her victim narrative was falling apart, and now she had Elena Martinez as an enemy, a woman with resources, legal representation, and photographic evidence. My phone buzzed with a text from my wife. "We need to talk. This has gone too far." I replied, "Talk to Elena Martinez. She's got plenty to say about you." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Who is Elena Martinez? I sent her one of Elena's photos, the one showing my wife tenderly washing Antonio's face. Antonio's wife, the one who's been paying for his dance studio while you two played house. No response for 10 minutes. Then, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're not just a cheater. You're a homewrecker. It's not what it looks like. Elena has 47 photos that say otherwise. I'm scared. I need to come home. Home is wherever Elena decides not to press additional charges. Please. For the first time since this started, she sounded genuinely frightened. Good. You made your choice, I replied. Now live with the consequences. Elena called me at 6 a.m. the next morning. I couldn't sleep, she said. I kept thinking about what I saw yesterday, so I went back to the hospital. This early, I wanted to catch them before visiting hours officially started. See if she'd sneak in to be with him. I was already reaching for my coffee. And she's there. Has been since 5:30 according to the security guard. Brought him breakfast from that expensive place downtown. You know, the one with the $30 omelets. My wife was spending money we didn't have on gourmet food for her boyfriend while I was dealing with potential assault charges. Elena, are you still there? Parking garage. 3rd floor. I can see his room window from here. What are you planning? I'm done planning. Time for action. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Elena was sending me a live stream of what was happening. The first video showed my wife in Antonio's hospital room, but this time she wasn't just washing his face. She was feeding him spoonfuls of scrambled eggs, wiping his mouth gently, stroking his hair, like a devoted girlfriend caring for her injured lover. The second video captured Elena walking into the room. Even through the phone screen, I could feel the temperature drop. Good morning, sweetheart. Elena's voice was sweet as poison. Don't mind me. Just wanted to see how my husband's recovery was going. My wife froze with a spoonful of eggs halfway to Antonio's mouth. I can explain, my wife started. Oh, please do, Elena said, moving closer. Explain to me why you're hand-feeding my husband like he's an infant. Explain why you're here at dawn spending what looks like $100 on breakfast for a man who isn't your husband. Antonio tried to speak through his wired jaw, making desperate mumbling sounds. Don't try to talk, baby, Elena said mockingly. Save your strength. You're going to need it. The third video was chaos. My wife stood up quickly, knocking over the chair she'd been sitting on. This isn't what you think. Really, Elena pulled out her phone, showing the photos from yesterday. Because what I think is that you're a pathetic woman who destroys other people's marriages while playing house with their husbands. I was just helping someone who got hurt because of my husband's violence. Wrong thing to say. Elena stepped forward. Violence. Your husband defended his marriage from a predator. My husband destroyed our marriage by cheating with a married woman. There's a difference. My wife backed toward the door, but Elena wasn't done. Did you think I wouldn't find out? Did you think I'd stay in Chicago forever while you played housewife with my husband? It's not like that. Then what is it like? Elena's voice was rising. Explain to me why you've been here every day. Why you know his meal preferences. Why the nurses think you're his wife. Why you're feeding him with your own hands like he's your lover. Antonio was making frantic sounds, probably trying to defuse the situation, but his broken jaw made him sound pathetic. He needed help. My wife tried weakly. He needed help? Elena laughed, and it was terrifying. He needed help cheating on his wife? He needed help destroying your marriage? He needed help lying to both of us for months. The fourth video showed Elena getting in my wife's face. You want to know what he really needed help with? Gambling debts. $23,000 he owes to people who break more than jaws. Money I've been earning while he was teaching you special dance moves. My wife's face went white. She clearly didn't know about the gambling. That's right, honey. Your knight in dancing shoes has been using both of us. My money, your body, and whoever else's he could get his hands on. Elena pulled out a folder. I spent yesterday afternoon with my lawyer. Guess what we found? 3 other women filed complaints about inappropriate behavior during private lessons. 3 other married women who suddenly started taking evening classes with Antonio. My wife looked like she was going to be sick. Congratulations, Elena continued. You're not special. You're not his soulmate. You're just another mark he was running while spending my money and destroying my marriage. Antonio made desperate mumbling sounds, reaching toward my wife like he was trying to comfort her. That's when Elena snapped. Don't you dare comfort her. She grabbed the breakfast tray and hurled it against the wall. Eggs and coffee exploded everywhere. Don't you dare act like the victim here. Nurses came running. Security was called. My wife was crying and shaking, but Elena wasn't finished. This is who you destroyed your marriage for, she told my wife, gesturing at Antonio cowering in his hospital bed. A broke, cheating, gambling addict who was using you just like he used me. I hope it was worth it. The final video showed Elena calmly walking out while my wife collapsed into the chair, sobbing. Security escorted Elena from the building, but she'd already gotten what she came for. My phone rang immediately. Did you see all of that? Elena asked. Every second. You destroyed her. She destroyed herself. I just showed her the truth about the man she threw away her marriage for. What happens now? Now? Now she gets to explain to everyone why she abandoned a man who defended her honor for a con artist who was playing her from day one. She gets to explain why she chose a gambling addict over a husband who actually loved her. And Antonio gets to explain to his loan sharks where their money is going to come from now that his meal ticket is divorcing him. He gets to explain to the state medical board why he's been using his business to prey on married women. And he gets to do it all with a broken jaw. Elena paused. Your wife's gathering her things. She looks broken. I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Then I remember that she was feeding my husband breakfast while I was working 12-hour days to pay his debts. Pity's gone. Through the phone, I could hear my wife crying in the background. She's asking the nurses if there's anywhere else she can go, Elena continued. Apparently, she can't go home because her husband changed the locks, and she can't afford a hotel because she spent her money on gourmet breakfasts for my husband. Where's she going to go? Not my problem anymore. But I'm guessing she's about to discover what happens when you burn all your bridges for a man who was never worth it in the first place. 6 months later, I was having coffee at the same shop across from the hospital when Elena texted me. Thought you'd want an update. Antonio's loan sharks found him last week. 3 broken ribs to go with his jaw. And my ex-wife, living with her mother, lost her job after the scandal went public. Turns out her boss didn't appreciate employees who made the company look bad. The divorce had been swift. No contest, with all of Elena's evidence. My ex-wife couldn't afford to fight it. She's still blaming you for everything? Last I heard, she was telling people you ruined her life with your violence. And people believe that. Hard to play victim when there's video of you hand-feeding another woman's husband in a hospital room. Elena had made sure those videos circulated widely. Social media, neighborhood groups, even sent copies to my ex-wife's family. The court of public opinion had rendered its verdict. What about the gambling debts? $23,000 became $40,000 with interest. Antonio had to sell the studio. Elena Martinez got half in the divorce settlement. The other half went to his creditors. My ex-wife had chosen a man with nothing to offer and no future to provide. She tried to contact me last month. I told Elena. Wanted to apologize. What did you say? Nothing. Blocked her number. There was nothing to discuss. She'd made her choice when she decided Antonio's hands on her body were worth more than our marriage vows. Any regrets? Elena asked. About defending myself? None. Good. Real men don't apologize for having standards. Elena and I had become friends through this mess. She'd moved back to Chicago permanently, got promoted, started dating a decent man who actually respected marriage. Your ex-wife asks about you sometimes, she said. Through mutual friends. What does she want to know? If you're seeing anyone. If you're happy. If you ever talk about her. And what do you tell them? That you moved on. That you're living your life on your terms. That you don't waste time thinking about people who betrayed you. It was true. I'd bought a new house, started competing in amateur boxing tournaments again, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. She apparently tells people she made a mistake, Elena continued. That she was confused and scared and didn't know what she was doing. She knew exactly what she was doing. She got caught. That's what I tell people too. My phone buzzed with a news alert. Antonio Martinez had been arrested for fraud. Apparently, he'd been forging documents to keep the studio afloat longer than anyone knew. Did you see the news? Elena texted immediately. Just now. How long do you think he'll get? 3 to 5 years if he's lucky. The gambling debts were one thing, but fraud? That's federal. My ex-wife had destroyed our marriage for a con man who was now heading to prison. The irony was perfect. She's going to be alone for a very long time, Elena observed. She chose to be alone the minute she let another man put his hands on her. Any chance you'd ever forgive her? Forgiveness is for people who are sorry for what they did, not sorry they got caught. Smart man. Your next wife's going to be very lucky. If there is a next wife, she'll know exactly where I stand on loyalty and respect. Elena sent one final message. Your ex-wife destroyed everything good in her life for a man who was using her. You lost a cheater and gained your self-respect back. Who really won? I looked at my reflection in the coffee shop window. Clear eyes, straight shoulders, no regrets. The answer was obvious.